Hi, you're watching Look Up TV. This is a show we call The CEO. Many of you have seen the sign St. John, you've seen it on ambulances, you've heard about St. John, but how much real information do you have? On this show, we're going to give you all the information you ought to have about St. John and how you can relate to them directly as a citizen in need. I have the pleasure of hosting Mr. Harun Gikia, who's actually the CEO at St. John. Thank you for coming, Harun.
Thank you, Luis.
We, like I told you, we have seen St. John for very many years, but at a level where we think it's just part of the system, it's part of the community. How long have you been in Kenya?
Thank you very much, first of all, for hosting us in this show. St. John, Kenya, has been in the country now for almost 100 years because the idea of setting up in Kenya was conceived in 1923 by a gentleman who was called Sir Cavendish. He was a police commissioner from UK. And when he came here, he then decided that it's possible to set up St. John here. He was in the police, and then therefore the journey for St. John where we are today, we say we can trace it back, way back in 1923. When he came as a police, of course, the St. John was established as part of the police institution, and it was not until 1928 when we now decided, it was decided then, to branch off as a civilian organization, and we formed what was called a district at that time. And then in 1939, that's when the first ambulance was brought into the country. And after that, we were very active during the emergency period because St. John is a non-profit charity organization that mainly deals with what we call the first aid, attending and giving, stabilizing and conditions of those who have been injured. And therefore, during the independence period, were many injuries, and therefore St. John was very active at that particular time.
You have a very rich history, I mean, from that year until now.
Yes.
But the concept of a first responder has not been widely understood yet. It's almost like a new terminology being used now. But we need to know the importance of a first responder. You're now an established first responder. What does that actually mean to the Kenyan?
Yes, the first responder, we call them emergency first responders. And this is when an accident or an incident or there is an injury, the first person that is on site to attend to the injured person, that is a person that is called a first responder. Now, we qualify that by saying that the first responder must be skilled, must have the capacity, must have the necessary knowledge of what is required to do to attend to the injured. And that's where we come in by training in first aid training, that person is equipped to know what to do and how to attend to that particular patient.
But you have a very important emphasis where you are now training us as the people in the scene. It could be a family setup, maybe institutional, but one of your biggest charges has been to help Kenyans to understand they can be a first responder where they are.
And that is where we come in, and we appreciate the shows like this because it gives us a forum to be able to educate the Kenyans and the public. And we've also been doing a lot of this in the social media, in the mainstream media, and as well as all form of communication. Our vision is to ensure that we have at least one trained first aider in every household in the country, such that in case any injury does happen at any, be it a cat at home, be it a burn, be it a road accident, be it children playing, there is somebody who can be able to attend. And hence the importance of us getting coverage so that we can be able to communicate much more. The first responder is a trained emergency first responder with the requisite skills, knowledge, and professionalism of how to manage such a situation.
Actually, yeah, you need to explain so that people understand. Sometimes our natural impulse is to reach out to somebody who's in pain or in agony. We want to just grab them and lift them to safety.
And
Not understanding we may be causing more harm than good.
very, very true, Louis, because the Kenyan in us is, and the humane we are, is to rush in and help. Sometimes people rush in to help with good intention. We've also some cases of people who rush to help in with bad intention. But with a good intention is to rescue the injured person. We've had many cases of people rushing in and rescue somebody who has been injured, maybe in a road accident, and possibly that person has a spinal injury. But the people that are attending who have no skills or know-how will jump in and grab the person, put him in the back of a matatu or a boda or a vehicle and rush him to the hospital. But what have they done? They have caused more harm in the line of helping than it would have been the case. The right, especially somebody who has a spinal injury, the right is the best option is just to leave that person there and call emergency number, call St. John, call a hospital, or call any other medical personnel to come and attend. Because there is a special way of handling such a patient, not to escalate the injury. You'll find when you grab and take, possibly, if he had a spinal injury, that has been escalated. By the time the person reaches the hospital, you'll find a lot of these permanent disabilities, and in some cases, death do arise. But if it's a professional, will know how to handle by taking that person out from the vehicle in a stretcher, ensuring that that person is stabilized without movement of the head or the shoulder, transport with an ambulance to the hospital, and in most cases such people do stand and walk on their own.
Also, you need to understand that even the first responder could also be at risk when they rush in to help.
Oh yes, and that's one of the key content of the first aid training. And that's the first is, even before you attend, scan the environment. See whether there is any danger. And if there is any danger, don't move in. Call the security organs to come, or any other organ that is relevant to come and support you. Or you only move in to help if the scene is safe for you. Then you can proceed on. And that's part of the content of the first aid training and the importance of everybody being trained on first aid.
This for me means then you've done a lot of work, because this is an area you have to spread out, not just from the police as an organized force to help you, but I'm sure there's a lot of work you're doing in the community to reach out to people so they are encouraged, come and learn a few things, it will help you, it will save a life.
Yes. St. John, first of all, we are still structured as an organization per the old Kenya Constitution, the national government structure. So we still operate on the 8 provinces of Kenya. We have operations here in Nairobi, which is our headquarters, at Parliament, St. John Lane, next county. We have offices in Mombasa, covering the coast region. We have offices in Nyeri, covering the central region, Embu for eastern region, Kakamega for western, Nakuru covering the Rift Valley, Kisumu covering the Nyanza region. In all those locations, we have personnel who cover the entire, all the counties there. Ours is to reach out to what we call community volunteers and train the community volunteers on the field, on the area of first aid and emergency response, emergency preparedness. And at the same time, we have a different structure which we call the volunteer structure. Volunteer structure, presently we have about 27,000 volunteers countrywide. And these are broken into what we call the dolphins, who are the children in the primary schools. We have the small children. And then we have the cadets. These are the ones in the secondary schools. We have the links. These are the ones in the universities. We have the adult divisions that are community volunteers. And we also have the council members, the committee members that support the organization in oversight and all that. So all these 27,000 volunteers are trained first aiders. And they also have the skills and knowledge as what we call the TOTs, the train on the trainers, yeah? And therefore they can be able to train other people and escalate.
So if I walk into, for example, Parliament Centre, which is your headquarters, what kind of staff will I find there? What kind of personnel will I find who now are radiating this program in a typical St. John Centre?
Yes, when you come to the HQ, which is called the HQ, or sometimes we call it the Secretariat, you will find it's a lean organization. We have the CEO, who is the coordinator of the organization, and then we have the finance team, you will have the business development team, and then you have the training team, and we also have what we call the emergency medical services team, the team that runs the ambulances, which is equipped with what we call the emergency medical technicians, the EMTs. These are low cadre of what you will call doctors. They can be able to attend to the patients on the ground. And of course we have the ambulance operators. And of course the HR, the normal support system you'll find in any organization is what you'll find at the headquarters.
When this starts to work, somebody who needs St. John, just now, somebody who's thinking, I have a situation, I need St. John's, how could they reach you?
Anyone can be able to reach us through our emergency line, which if you look at all the ambulances, if you look at our social media, if you look at all our publications, that number is heavily available, and the number is 0721 225 285. That's the main line that anyone can be able to reach us. However, you can also reach us on our social media handles, which goes by the name St. John Ambulance Kenya. We are very active in Twitter, we are very active in Facebook, we are very active in Instagram, and even in LinkedIn. You can still find us at St. John Ambulance. And you can also reach us on WhatsApp. And our WhatsApp number is 0742 777 999. Or go to our website and you'll also find us there, and you'll find our contact and you'll be able to reach us.
What is your relationship with the people we typically know will arrive at the scene first? We're talking about the police or maybe any other institutions. Like now you work hand in hand probably with hospitals. How has that relationship been built? Is it working for St. John?
Yes, we have very good relationships with our partners. First of all, St. John Ambulance is established under an Act of Parliament, Cap 259 of 1979. And that gives us a linkage with the government. We fall under the Ministry of Health, is our parent ministry. The president of the country is always our chief patron, who chairs one council meeting annually. And we are therefore work and collaborate very closely with all ministries at the national level and also at the county level. The police, given that, as I said earlier, the genesis of St. John also was through the police. So up to today, we still have very close working relationship with the police. And we have even a division of St. John within the police. We train, most of the police have been trained by St. John, even at Kiganjo. There is a curriculum in the police recruitment and the training program.
So there's full-time training there?
Full-time training, and they do annual refresher on an annual basis. And therefore, if any incident happens, they know very well how to reach us and how to get to us. If an accident happens or any incident happens, they always reach out to us immediately, and we are able to respond to such type of emergencies very closely. We also work very closely with the Kenya National Defense Forces. We also have units within the army, within all arms of the National Defense Force, and also many ministries. We also collaborate with our partners, like Red Cross and AAR, and all others that are offering what we offer. We partner and work very closely with them.
Let's look at the Ministry of Education, for example. If your partnerships, as important as they are supposed to work, do you have a situation where you've actually put it across to them and they've accepted if they're having an event? Right now, I think we've just come to the end of Kenya Music Festival. Has it now become standard that when there's an event and schools are coming together, as much as they're calling participants, somebody must call St. John to be there?
Oh yes, as I said, that collaboration with all the ministries extends all the ministries across, including the Ministry of Education. And you'll find we are present in almost all government functions, all government national celebrations, be it Madaraka Day, May Day, Jamhuri Day. We provide our volunteers, and we also have the ambulances on site. We have our first aiders wherever there is a critical mass of people, because injuries may and many times do happen. We had the case of even the inauguration of the 5th president, which happened just the other day at Kasarani, and also the luncheon at State House. We had 50 volunteers, we had ambulances that were stationed at Kasarani and also stationed at State House. You saw what happened at Kasarani when the stadium was full as early as 5 a.m. and many people were jumping over the fence. There were many injuries. We were there to support and to treat those who had been injured.
Active. You're alive to everything that is happening social within a city, within a county. They're meant to attach themselves and you get onto their calendar.
Yes, we get to know their calendars. They also inform us and they invite us to partner and to support them by provision of the ambulances and the first aiders. So there is hardly any national celebration, be it at the ministerials or even at coordinated by all the ministries, that we are not. We work very closely with the National Disaster Management, NDMA, and the NDOC, and to back them up and to give them the support that is required.
Kenya is actually now facing serious drought, and probably people are wondering, how does St. John get involved in such a situation?
Ours being a pre-medical, pre-hospital care support services may not extend to drought situations per se. We come in only where there are injuries involved or preempt any injuries that may occur. Hunger, drought, yes, we have gone as specific projects at times to support the national government in how to care for the ones that are suffering from such situations. But it's not really our core line of support.
This brings a greater understanding of St. John, and it's not just about St. John Ambulance, and this is about St. John, a community helper, a community friend. What would you tell people at this time can help them to get better service from St. John as a community helper?
What we want the community is to embrace St. John, to embrace the first aid as a key component of every household and every community. In fact, at the moment, the program that we are coming up with is reaching out to churches, reaching out to resident associations, reaching out to organized community groups, so that we can be available to go and support them by training them to become first responders. We are now also organizing towns or locations or center specifics forums where we will be able to train and recruit many members to become our volunteers and be our first responders in that particular community. And just to say that we also appreciate the government support in the area of boda riders training, because we have seen and we know, and you have seen, that wherever an accident happens, the first person on site is always a boda rider. So I thank His Excellency the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Last year, he did direct that the Ministry of Transport collaborate with us to train at least 200,000 boda riders countrywide, a program that kicked off in July, where we trained the first lot of 200 boda here in Nairobi, and we'll continue with that program as we progress on. And the boda riders are in every village, every community, and there will be great fast responders if they also embrace and use that knowledge for the right purpose. Because again, at times we have seen people, like we do the first aid at work, which is a compliance issue for many companies, organizations. The law requires that they train a team as first aiders, and we train them. But my appeal to those people is that that training should translate to an impact to the community by you being available as a first responder in your community. But a lot of people take it as for compliance. I have a certificate, I tick a box, I put the certificate aside, and you don't do anything with that knowledge. I appeal for people.
I want to understand that some more. We'll continue that on that very line. After a short break, this is now telling you how to get involved, how to embrace St. John, how to help them help you in your situation. This and more after a short break. Welcome back on the CEO. We're talking to Harun Gikia, who's teaching us, educating us on the importance of working with St. John. Just before we were talking about the area of compliance as opposed to actually doing it for the benefit of the community. Go on, Harun.
Yes, as I was saying before the break, we have first aid at work training, which is a requirement by law for every organization to train or to have people trained on first aid. My appeal is that the people that have been trained need to translate that knowledge to have an impact to the community that lives around them, be it at home, be it in the area that you live, or at work. However, we may need to do a study on the same to see how many people actually do that. Because a lot of the times, most people take it as a compliance issue. It's just a ticking a box, get a certificate, put it in the file, and use it for your career when you are looking for a job elsewhere. But how many do practice what they've learned? It's something that we may need to interrogate further.
That's very disappointing. How do you file knowledge that can save a life?
Sure, yes, and that's the whole purpose, to save a life.
Right. Well, this is a very engaging field. You're going, this is rescue, this is helping, this is saving a life. What attracted you to doing this kind of job?
Very interesting question, because that also drives me, it takes me to who I am. I would want to tell you, Louis, that I've worked in the corporate sector for over 30 years. I graduated from the University of Nairobi in 1988, and I was first employment with a soap. I've worked in the soap industry for that long. First with a company called PZ Carsons, where I was there for 12 years. And then after that, I moved to another US multinational, a global leader in industrial cleaning, which is called Ecolab Inc., where I was for 18 years. In 2018, I said I have worked for 30 years. I needed to take a break. So I took an early retirement. And at the time I was the managing director for Ecolab East and West Africa. And when I retired, I said I wanted to concentrate on three things for the rest of my life. One was to spend time with my family and myself, which COVID did give a great
That was a springboard
advantage
for many
for me.
people.
I had plenty of time for myself and the family that period of time. Number two was to become an entrepreneur. And I'm happy to say that I am an entrepreneur now. I ran a company employing about 20 people. And number three, which is why I'm here, is I wanted to give back to the society, to give back to the community. So those are the three pillars of my life going forward.
That's actually very important because a lot of people have the mentality that after you do your work of choice, it comes to an end. Your life also is over. Now you can just go home and wait for time. And you think, I've given my best, I've done everything I can.
Yes.
Now it's enough, I can rest. But you're showing us that it doesn't stop there.
No. So as the third pillar of giving back to the society and the community, first of all, let me say I'm a senior Rotarian. And I have been in the Rotary movement for a while. I've served as the president of my Rotary Club of Ongata Rongai in 2016-2017. I've been what we call the assistant governor Rotary for 2 terms. I've been a chairman of a global reward program, and I'm still an active Rotarian. So that and Rotary is giving back to the society, giving back to the community. I've also been among community leaderships, which I do, but even in St. John, I got involved with St. John way back in 2016 as a volunteer, as the chairman of St. John, Kajiado County, which was when St. John was trying the models of moving from the old pre-2010 constitution organization structure to post-2010, which is the county devolution. Yeah?
So into devolution you also went.
Yes. So I was the chairman for Kajiado County, and then 2019 I was elevated to the chairman of Nairobi Region Council as a volunteer, and then the CEO for St. John, the late Albert Ruturi, passed away during the COVID time, and then the organization was looking now to fill that position. And they went through the journey, did not find very successful candidates at the time. And then towards the end of 2021, they approached if I would want to take up the role. And of course I went through the interview stages, and finally they did decide that I would take up the position. So I was given the position of December 2021. So I'm 10 months old in the position, but I consider it as more of a volunteerism, not as a job. I don't take it as a job. I take it as a volunteerism, as part of community service, as part of giving back to the society. So it's really not as a job. I did offer that even if there was no pay, I would still do the job.
Because this is a very different scene from what you were doing before.
Exactly.
And now you're right into the community. A huge difference, is it?
Huge difference. It's actually, I say, I enjoy the job. I like what I'm doing. And it ignites my passion because it is aligned to my mission. It's aligned to my purpose in life. And therefore, it's a perfect mix.
That's very interesting because there are a lot of people who are in careers and jobs that actually do not link with what they want to do in life, their purpose in life. There's no connection. So they just go there and say what we say, they just do the time. But this is different for you.
It's completely different. I'm here because I want to be here, and I like and love what I do, what I'm doing, and it's to save lives in service to humanity and to support the team, St. John, to scale up, because we have having been here, the same organization having been here for almost 100 years, we are not where we should be, because we have a lot of people who are suffering, who need us, who need our services. And therefore, it's our responsibility to reach out to as many partners as possible, because the challenge is there's too much, there's a lot that is needed from us. But the organization has also very limited resource, because without any donors, without any funding from the government, and only relying on the mere resources that it is able to get from its charitable and social enterprise, which is the money that we charge for training of first aid.
So fundraising is a key component.
It's
for
a key
St. John.
component. It's a key component. Resources that we raise from the first aid training, the ambulances for, sometimes we ask people to pay for hospital to hospital, those who can pay, but we also do a lot of free ambulance services for those who cannot pay, cannot afford, and for those who have been injured, to transfer them to the hospital. So for us to be able to run the operations of the organization, we need resources. And that's why we appeal to as many people as possible. Those who can able to pay, to afford to pay, to come and train with us. Because those resources are going to train people to save lives, including family members of those in the organization. So it's not for, we are a non-profit charity organization. All the resources that we get, any surplus, will always channel back to save lives, to serve the humanity. Of course, we appreciate other partners that have supported us. We have our sister organization called Johanniter. It's a German order of more like St. John. And therefore, they have come to partner with us, and they have really supported us to train the border riders. And also to mention that we have 18 what we call highway rescue centers along the stretch from Mombasa all the way to Busia border, and also some like Mai Mahiu. We have some in
Critical
Meru.
spots that have been identified.
Yes, these are the black spot areas of where accidents do happen. We have what we call those highway rescue centers. They are like mobile clinics. It's a container which is equipped with first aid requirements. We train the volunteers around that areas. So if any accident do happen there, they respond quickly. They have the supplies, they have trained personnel, and people can be treated and before they are taken to the hospitals.
Actually, this is very important, because I've seen some communities try to do that, but they also said we need help to do this. This is a service of rescue. We're saving lives. Can we get some assistance? So now you're working with such communities.
Yes, we are working with those communities. We have already established those ones. Some are operating very well, where we have resources, especially thanks to Johanniter, who is supporting us in the Lari, Limuru, and we have Lari and also the Limuru highway rescue centers, and they are funding the operations of those two, and they are also coming up to fund others. We have the Petroleum Institute of East Africa, who is a partner in these highway rescue centers. We've been collaborating and working with them. We are looking at how can we upscale the support that they're currently giving us to make those rescue centers more active, more vibrant, operational 24 hours. Some of them are not that.
So as an individual, this is very satisfying for you to do. It's very rewarding. And what would you say to somebody who would think, I would like to do such a job?
To my job?
Save lives, be part of a useful member of community, and maybe they've been thinking, how do I get to do such a duty?
We welcome all to be our volunteers. By being volunteers means being trained as a first aider and having those regular refresher, and at the same time being available to attend to any injury that happens in your community. So we welcome anyone, and that is the program that we'll be rolling out going forward. As I said earlier, of going to local villages and communities and training, calling up the people to come. We train them, we recruit them, they become our volunteers, and they respond when there is an emergency or when there is a need where they live. And I would want to see the numbers of volunteers growing. Out of the 27,000 volunteers I said earlier, fortunately or unfortunately, maybe 80-90% are institutional based.
But now you're telling individuals there is no criteria. It's your own effort, your own initiative. You can actually just walk into Parliament Center, to your headquarters, and say, I want to help.
That is one. Secondly, we've also running now, we've initiated and we are advertising in our social media recruitment sessions. So we are calling people to come. In each of we've already done for Nairobi the first one. We've done in Nakuru. We're doing in Mombasa, where we invite people to come for a one-day session, where we tell them who we are, what we do, what a volunteer is and what a volunteer is expected to do. And those who are keen or interested, then we'll take their names and register them, and we walk the journey together. So I'm welcoming as many Kenyans as possible to join us.
Was your family surprised when you went from corporate and said, now I want to help people and this is what I want to do? Was your family surprised when you changed your career path?
Yes, of course. Coming from such a senior position in the corporate sector and just deciding that now I want to do something on the volunteer and community, of course they were surprised and would not understand why you'd leave such a high-paying, well-paying, high-profile position to come and give back but that's where my heart is, and that's where my passion is, and that's where I see my future, joy and happiness leading me to. So I have no regrets.
But I see this as an advantage for you because now you've been in the corporate sector. You're able to reach out to these people now. They were your colleagues. You're able to tell them this is useful for your organization. This is useful for your setup. And now you're there, you know their job and you know how you can help them so that they can be part of the community.
Yes, and I hope that inspires many more. Even you don't have to leave even your job. You can still volunteer even where you are. But again, even if you retire, don't just sit back at home and wait for eventualities. Do something. Volunteer something. Give your services. It could be mentorship to the young people. You have worked for somebody to retire. You must have worked for many years. So you have a lot of knowledge. You have a lot of experiences to share with people. So look for the forum, and there are many, to give back to the society.
As a catapult for you, maybe as a springboard, we are now at a time where we are training a new government. We are training new members of parliament. We are training senators. It's all about training now. People are preparing to go out and serve the citizen. What would you ask these people to also understand about how you can be part of that service that is going out to the citizen?
Yes. The change of administration, change of government brings in new people, and therefore the key task, even though there is a lot of continuity, because the public service is a continuing administration, but of course there is still need, creates opportunities for you to create the linkage with the new administration and get to a level where you can have the partnership and the collaboration working and be in a position to train the new, the old, and have a momentum and open opportunities of how do we as a county, how do we as the national government serve our people better. Health is critical. We have hospitals that are limited, and at the same time, it's also expensive to go to the hospital. So if we can be able to reduce the number of people going to the hospitals, if we can be able to manage small injuries before they become major injuries, it's a plus for the county government, it's a plus for the national government, it's a plus for the country. So let's join hands.
So even these new governors rolling out whatever their programs are, you expect a healthy interaction with them so that as they're rolling out, you should be part of their rollout.
Yes, we actually now waiting for them to settle down. And once they settle down, we've already started sending out letters to all the county governors to give us a forum, to give us a session, a courtesy call, and be able to bring them to speed on what we as St. John can be able to do for them at the county level, and also the new CSS, especially who comes in the ministries, including the Ministry of Health. It's a session where we now will need to meet with as many as possible and have those memorandums of understanding and partnership so we can serve our Kenyan people the best that we can.
What's the one thing you would say finally that maybe Kenyans do not know about St. John? What's the one thing you would want to tell Kenyans to understand or know about St. John as a final comment?
Yes, St. John is, I would say, the most professional organizations in the field that we operate in, because we are not driven, it's not a commercial organization, it's a non-profit charity organization. And we are doing this to save lives in service to humanity. And our training, the quality of our training, without any doubt and without contradiction, is the best that we have in the country, if not, in fact, almost worldwide. We don't compromise on the quality, and we are not out to make money. We are out to save lives and to serve humanity. Secondly, St. John is a global organization. It's an order of chivalry. It has a royal recognition. In fact, the sovereign head of St. John globally for the last 70 years was the Queen. May her soul rest in peace. But she has served us very well for those periods, and we feel honored. Our sovereign head today is now King Charles III. We have that royal recognition. In fact, even during the Queen funeral, St. John was represented and recognized. We had our Lord Prior, who is the head of St. John, in the procession with the CEO of the St. John Eye Hospital in Jerusalem, and a young volunteer lady from UK. They were in the procession working. So we have that royal. We also get, because of that chivalry and the royal linkage, the Queen regularly recognize members worldwide who have given service to the organization. And I'm happy to say that even here in Kenya, we have many St. John members who have been recognized. The first president, Jomo Kenyatta, was knighted as a Knight of Grace of St. John in 1972. The former president, Daddy Arap Moi, was also knighted. We knighted His Excellency, retired former President Uhuru Kenyatta, just this year. He was also knighted as a Knight of Grace. And many. So the benefits that you get by being a volunteer of St. John is not monetary, but it's more recognition. Even in the you get even as the president himself, just recently, Madaraka June 1st, the first person when he was giving the state honors here at the new Uhuru Gardens was our patron, was our prior, the chairman of the board, Paul Ndongo. He was given the Moran of the Golden Heart, and he was the first person on board for the service that he has given to the country, of course, many other areas, but also more service he has given to St. John. So being a volunteer has its own inner satisfaction through the recognitions that you get by getting into the royal, getting the royal family linkage and recognition, and also the state honors that come with it, and being invited to state functions that sometimes will not be.
Thank you very much, Harold. I'm going to get a whole draft of this. We're going to give it as much information as we can, put it down in drafts and papers so that people can further understand St. John and the importance of it. This has been the show on CEO. St. John now should not just be a sign we see on an ambulance. This is a community effort which you can actually be part of. Thank you for watching the CEO.